Welcome to Conscious Living Collective, a place where we explore a fascinating intersection of mindfulness, science, and personal growth. My name is Tomek. I'm a scientist, a teacher here on Insight Timer, and like yourself, an explorer and a seeker of more fulfilled, more empowered life. Welcome to another session of Conscious Living Collective. Make yourself comfortable, and we will start very shortly with very interesting topic: fundamentals of mindfulness. How are you today? I can see familiar faces. Hello V, hello Adam, hello Anne. Good to see you all. Hello, Tosca. I just judge by the icons that float on the bottom of my screen, but feel free to introduce yourself, and particularly if you're here for the first time, raise your virtual hand, and I will send my very special welcome to the first timers. Hello, Kathleen. Hello, Terry. Hello, Joan. Actually, we have two Joans. Sharon and Naomi, Dorothy, very good to see you here, and Lynn, amazing. Anne is here for the first time. Very welcome to Conscious Living Collective. For those of you who are here for the first time, we have weekly sessions of our collective to bring and to discuss different topics, like I said in the intro, from the intersection of science, mindfulness, personal growth, personal development, everything that is important for everyday well-being, everything that could be important for the human collective that we are part of. And today, very important topic, at least to me, and I hope you find it interesting as well, the fundamentals of mindfulness. As a scientist, I find it very important and interesting to revisit sometimes the basics and come back to ask why, and discover and explore the why behind our decisions. And if you are here, most likely you are an active meditator. You practice mindfulness on a daily basis. So I think it is important to find out why we meditate and ask yourself once again, to that question and explore it. Marine, very good to see you. Gyampo, good to see you here. Lisa, first timers. I'm glad to see there are so many of you here for the first time. And if you are new to mindfulness meditation, perhaps you are new to this field, then I think this session will be especially useful for you because we'll be talking about basics. And when I was preparing to this session, I might admit that some of those some of the fundamentals of mindfulness, they were like, oh yeah, okay. This is actually interesting. It was not necessarily anything new, but it was very nice for me to remind myself why I actually meditate and what is the reason behind taking so much time from my day and do a formal and informal practice. So maybe right here at the start, I want to ask you, in one word, would you describe what is your reason for meditating or for practicing mindfulness? And as you pose your questions here in the comment section, I want to say that when I started exploring the big why behind my meditation practice, I started recognizing that big part of the why is to reconcile my thinking mind with the rest of my being. And quite frankly, very often that involves getting away from my thinking mind that so very often dominates the narrative in my head. Well, narrative in my head, I think I can call it thinking mind. But so much time, I can speak for myself, I spent thinking, and much less time I spent experiencing. So rather than experience the life it is and have the experience of anything, I think about this experience I'm having. So it is my cognitive functions are much more, I would say, switched on rather than the experience itself. I want to recognize that in my own experience. So we have Liz, presence. Kenya, slow down pace. I love it. Liz, sanity. I'm with you on this, Liz, definitely. Getting away from my thinking mind is a sign of sanity to me. And stress. Joan, awareness. Elizabeth, again, like myself, manage my thinking mind. Rosa, wholeness. I love that. Because wholeness, it's a balance, right? It's inclusion of everything without omission of anything. Everything is important equally. Not a single part is more important than the other. The wholeness. So I love it. And knowing yourself. That's a wonderful, definitely part of my agenda, is to explore the parts of self that are still in the unconscious. So bringing unconscious into the consciousness and getting to know myself better. Fantastic. Connection, marine connection with spirit, God, and pain relief. Very practical. Tosca, care for calm and peace. Wonderful. This is it. So as you can see, many reasons to practice mindfulness and to meditate. And I think to begin of the topic of fundamentals of mindfulness, I want to start by saying that what I already kind of said, that thinking mind and our cognitive process is not the entirety of and the whole picture in front of us. And this is very important from the perspective of the times that we live in. The time that is dominated by thinking, by technology that was developed as a result of very, very deep thinking. And I think I'm not alone here by saying that there are circumstances and situations when it seems like we took it too far. And as a result of the past, well, let's say 10, 20 years, from my perspective at least, there's increasing interest in mindfulness. That is, in my opinion, it's going one of the fundamental principles of mindfulness. It's recognizing mind only as a part of the picture. And one of the first fundamental principle and first of the fundamentals of mindfulness is non-judgment. And what is judgment, on the contrary? Judgment is a function of your mind. It's something that it's a principal characteristic of your brain. If you look at something, if you have something in your awareness, the judgment occur, or some form of questioning, some form of classification, or in a nutshell, judgment, because that's how the brain works. But in mindfulness, we are asked not to judge. As a matter of fact, the fundamental principle of mindfulness is non-judgment. So right here, at the start of this journey, you can see that there is an emphasis on something that is opposite to the cognitive process, non-judgment. Judgment, by definition, is the function of the mind. So I can share my personal story with the first 5 minutes of my meditation ever, years and years ago, when I was asked to sit for 5 minutes in silence and stop judging. It was one of the most difficult things that I ever had to do, because until that moment in my life, everything that I was doing was judging as a scientist. Classification, judgment, learning by the opposites, dualism. It was all about that. So you can imagine that non-judging within a short period of time was a torture. And over years and years of meditation, I only scratched the surface of that very simple and yet so powerful mechanism that is implemented and part of our cognitive process: judgment. So how do you feel? What do you think about that part of your mindfulness and meditation practice? Does judgment play an important role? Is it easy to withhold the judgment in your meditation practice? I can say it is not to me, but that's why I'm coming here to seek your support every time I sit with you. And by the way, for those of you who are here for the first time, we always chat for a bit, and I listen to your comments, and then we meditate together. So there is a practical part of the session where we actually, when the rubber hits the road, and we'll see how that judgment or withholding the judgment will work for you. In my case, if I meditate for 20 minutes, usually 18 minutes or 19 minutes of the meditation is spent just juggling my thoughts and exercising, withholding the judgment. And if I'm lucky, on the remaining 1 or 2 minutes, my awareness settles in the non-mind or non-thinking. And then, quite frankly, where the good thing starts happening, the pleasant thing starts happening. But again, meditation is not necessarily about experiencing another high or another. It's not an entertainment. But I'm going to talk about it in a second. Karen says, not at all easy for an INTJ. INTJ, it's, if I recognize it correctly, is one of the types in typology that describes your character. So yeah, certainly not easy. Anne says it's even hard not to judge my meditation. Thank you, and that's exactly how I feel. Even within the meditation, you can judge. Am I doing it right? Constantly questioning. Am I breathing in the right way? Am I relaxed enough? Am I good enough at it? Am I doing it the right way? Yeah, absolutely. Terry, non-judging is very difficult for me. It seems to think I'll get better at it with practice, but it is hard for me. And Terry, you I think you hit the nail on the head that non-judgment is not something that we have or we don't have, but it is a skill that we practice throughout the meditation. And this very morning, when I sat down to my meditation, or in this particular, I did it very early, so I lay down for my morning meditation, that was the assumption. And I brought this very consciously to my meditation. It is not to stop experiencing thoughts, emotion, feelings, and go into the nice non-mind space, but it's about withholding judgment, right? And creating a different approach and befriending whatever comes your way. So, non-judgment as the first principle of mindfulness. The second one is present moment and awareness. So something that, again, is very, I'm going to make this session with relation to the mind and to workings of the mind, because I think it's the easiest way of describing mindfulness and understanding mindfulness, at least from the cognitive point of view. Because ultimately, when we mindful, the mind is only part of the picture, as I said. It's not the whole picture. But present moment awareness, right? Mindfulness focuses on being fully present in the here and now. The classic works in the field of mindfulness, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The power of now. Be here now. Perhaps the most the simplest definition of mindfulness: be here now, present moment awareness. So what it does, as we understand, it involves directing attention to the current experience, whether it's a sensation in your body, thought in the mind, or external stimuli. And that points out once again to the thinking process, because the quality of the mind that is very much opposed, in most of the cases, to being here now is that the mind draws from the past experiences and project them into the future outcome. So mind, in a sense, it's a predicting machine. Whatever you experienced in the past, you take that, you process it in your brain, and then you spit out the future outcome and try to anticipate, try to predict the future. And as you can see, between the past and the future, we're skipping a very important part, which is present moment. And mindfulness, on the contrary, brings us back to here and now. And that's another evidence, as I call it, that mindfulness very often sits outside of the thinking mind, outside of the inner commentary. What do you think about that? Is it easy to be here now? I think it is not. Simply because for most of, even if we decide for a short period of our meditation practice in the morning and evening, in the afternoon, to be in here now, most of our circuits in our brain will take us in the opposite direction. Our mind will want to see what is happening right now, will ask, will assess, will judge, will create a commentary to the current situation. But thinking about the current situation is not the current situation itself. So mindfulness brings us not only to the present moment, but brings us to the experience as is. And based on the first principle of mindfulness, not judgmentally, which means that it removes, or at least it tries to put aside that aspect of the mind that says, I want this experience, but only in the way that is based on the past experience. So it has to be pleasant, it has to be sweet, it has to be calm, it has to be soft, whatever your description of the pleasant experience is. And your description of the pleasant experience is obviously based on the knowns that come from the past. So being here now, again, is not easy, simply because it is very much not something that we practice on a daily basis. The one thing that I practice on a daily basis is to anticipating the future based on my past experience. What do you think about this one? So yeah, we have non-judgment and present moment awareness, which we can in a nutshell contain into being here and now. And then the third one, which is again very difficult for us being here in the present moment in history, is attention and concentration. So in order to be here now, we have to develop a skill that allows us to sustain attention on the chosen object in the present moment. Okay? And it doesn't matter if we start with breath, with mantra, with the bodily sensation, or any anchor that helps us keep attention centered in the present moment. So it is not even important what that anchor is. It is important that we practice being right here, right now, when we choose an object, simply to work with our mind on this one. So we try to refocus, or we try to retrain our mind from constantly looking into the past and anticipating the future to be present right here, right now. And as you can imagine, the objects of as you can see, objects of meditation, they are very, very simple and basic functions. Because if we introduce anything that is more complex, like a situation or a story, all of a sudden our mind starts running all over the place, and the present moment awareness disappears. So we intentionally choose something very easy: breath, bodily sensation, any anchor that is as simple as it gets, to again not to have but to develop attention and concentration. And we know the science is very clear about attention and concentration. Because of the social media, because the way we live, because the overstimulation that we experience, our attention decreases. So it used to be longer and now gets shorter and shorter. For me, it's the classic example of the music video where every, I think, 2 seconds we have a change of scene. So if you pay attention next time to watch anything on TV, it's a one scene, and then 2 seconds later something else and something else and something else. So as a matter of fact, that fluid, I think there's a famous movie that it's just one take. So the camera moves, never breaks what do you call it? It's just a one scene, continuous for I don't know, hour and a half. I think this movie, it's clearly it's not very popular, because for us to keep our attention for extended period of time, as a matter of fact, for more than a couple of seconds, it's very difficult. It's not very difficult because we don't have capacity. Our brain does not have capacity to maintain attention, but we train ourselves on a moment-to-moment basis to do otherwise. We jump from one stimulus to another. We want more dopamine that is being secreted every time that something new occurs. So training that attention and concentration is extremely difficult because it's against the grain of our current training that we undergo every day. We train our day every day, jumping from one action to another, from one task to another. The classic example of that I think has been for a long time appreciated in companies. Are you a good multitasker? Can you maintain a couple of things, juggle a couple of things simultaneously to increase productivity? Now we know science is clear about it. That's not how it happens. Multitasking, it's a waste of time. If you are multitasking, you're fooling yourself that you can perform a couple of tasks simultaneously. That's just not how it goes, right? You can breathe and circulate your blood and manage your nervous system, but that happens all subconsciously. If you want to be aware of something and just do something consciously, you can be focused only at one thing at a time to do anything efficiently. And for those of you who are multitasking, you're actually not multitasking. You're performing one task at a time. You just switch your attention in short intervals. So you take care of this for a short period of time and take care of this for a short period of time and then take care of this for a short period of time. So in a sense, you single task, but you just switch between you learn to switch between one task and another very quickly, which is never the best and the most efficient way of dealing with things, simply because we know again from science that the best way of performing things is being in the flow. It's being focused on one task at a time with a full concentration and full devotion to the topic. Okay, so we have non-judgment, we have present moment awareness, we have attention and concentration. Again, all those, once again, I want to remind you, are not the qualities that are very familiar to our current state brain. So there's a difficulty in practicing in mindfulness, but nevertheless, these are the principles of mindfulness. So these are the reasons why we're doing it. And as we mentioned at the beginning, and for many of you as well, to stay away from the mind, to keep yourself open to the new experiences. It's only possible when you put your mind aside, because your mind only can work, and it does work, based on what has already happened, what already has been detected by your mind. So in mindfulness, the reason why mindfulness is so appealing, because it opens a space for new experiences, withholds the judgment, and judgment again based on what we already experienced. And therefore, we give ourselves chance to experience something new. Mindfulness is a gateway to experience something new. that is not based on our past experience and something that has already happened, but it's opening to the unknown. And again, opening to unknown, it's another very good reason for your brain to freak out, because your brain does not deal well with novelty. As a matter of fact, the reaction of your brain to any kind of novelty, even the small one, is stress and anxiety and trauma. If you think about it, try to experiment this and try to do something new. And simple experiment is try to brush your teeth with the opposite hand. So if you're right-handed with the left hand, right-handed with the left hand with the right hand, and you see how much trouble you will have, and in a moment it is going to be a struggle, and your brain will oppose it. It's going to take some time to get used to it. Let alone any situations that are new to you, and when you take a trip to a new country, you're exposed to a new culture. These at first all are very unpleasant experiences until we open ourselves to them. And mindfulness is a facilitator for that. Opens us to new unknown experiences, withholding temporarily the judgment, being in the experience, not only thinking about the experience, because in our brain very often we don't have that pattern yet open. So we can only project, but it's the being an experience is much more efficient than projecting. So mindfulness helps us with that. Okay. So the fourth principle of mindfulness is acceptance and letting go. And this is very much in line with what you already said. If you want to practice present moment and present moment awareness without judgment, we have to accept things as they are. Because the moment we start engaging our brain, we just projecting things based on what already happened. So letting go constantly of those train of thoughts that try to be that they are sticky and attached to it, that's one of the ways of practicing fundamentals of mindfulness. Yeah, eureka moments, Elizabeth. That's precisely what it is. Eureka moments, they are not based on our past experiences, right? Eureka moments, these are new experiences, new ideas that come from the present moment, from mindfulness. Hello, Blossom Violet. Good to see you here. So again, for me as a scientist, acceptance, letting go are not very easy, because I'm so used to discerning things, judging things, putting things into categories. And if we practice mindfulness, we are asked to accept things the way they are, without judgment. Mindfulness is not about achieving a particular, mindfulness involves accepting things as they are in the present moment, even if they are uncomfortable and unpleasant, and encourages letting go of attachment to thoughts, emotions, and experiences, allowing them to come and go without getting caught up with them. So there you go. Our mind wants jump from one bliss to another, from one pleasant situation to another pleasant situation. But in mindfulness, by principle, we are asked to accept everything as it comes, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant from our perspective, from the perspective of our mind. This is a very important distinction, because one thing can be pleasant for you and unpleasant for me, and vice versa. So this is very subjective judgment, pleasant or unpleasant. To give you an extreme example of it, people that experience chronic pain, right? I think we can all agree that being in pain, it's a very negative experience. But people who are experiencing chronic pain, they live in pain all the time. They learn in the process of MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, developed by John Kabat-Zinn, to actually accept, stop judging pain for what it is. And that's the only way to live with it, to befriend it, and to recognize and to accept it for what it is. And only then they can move on with their lives. That's mindfulness. Perhaps the most extreme version of mindfulness, but nevertheless, there it is. That's how MBSR was developed for people in chronic pain, the so-called the extreme cases and hopeless cases. Elizabeth says, basis of pain management is leaning into the pain. Very interesting. So we have acceptance, letting go, both pleasant and unpleasant, not judgmentally. Very difficult. You see, that's why I love this session, because even talking about it makes me realize how difficult it is to be truly mindful. There's always, our brain always creates a caveat. Yes, I am in the present moment, right here, right now, but I want to be calm. I want to be stress-free. I want to be at peace. So only then there's a mindfulness. But no, mindfulness is bringing everything on board, and particularly those experiences that may be unknown to our awareness just yet. That's where things become interesting. That's where the eureka moments can happen, right? Outside of our current understanding and current belief system. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to run through all the principles of mindfulness, because I want to leave us some space for actual mindfulness and meditation. But maybe two more. The number 5 is non-striving. So mindfulness is not about achieving a particular outcome or trying to change anything. It involves cultivating a state of non-striving and simply being with the present moment as it unfolds without seeking to control and manipulate it. And again, I can very quickly, in the same way as mindfulness is about non-striving, all the cognitive processes are about control and manipulation. So this is another example of how mindfulness goes against the grain of our cognitive process. Cognition is about control, manipulation, discerning, characterizing, whichever word you decide to choose. In mindfulness, it is not. Mindfulness, it's non-striving. Allowing things to be, letting go of the characters, of the things that our mind very often wants to do. And obviously, and the next characters of mindfulness, as a matter of fact, there's no mindfulness without self-compassion. In order to go and jump through all the hoops I just described, we have to maintain or practice self-compassion. Because if we are not self-compassionate in the process of mindfulness and process of meditation, that there's no way that we can be not judgmental, we can stay in the present moment, we can practice concentration and be in a state of non-striving. We experience, as a matter of fact, trying to get to the state of mindfulness, we'll experience all that. Judgment, striving, being in the past, being in the future. So if you want to, again, and not resisting, if you want to come to mindfulness, you have to have self-compassion towards yourself. Or that self-compassion is a compassion towards yourself, which means that every time that you are not mindful, you say, that's okay too, and come back to the present moment. It's okay to not be mindful and come back to the present moment. So you just accumulate those present moments as often as you can, planting the seeds of awareness. If you want a good visualization for that, I have a meditation called Weeds and Seeds. So the visualization is you walk through a garden where everything is beautiful, and you see seeds, and you see beautiful plants and flowers and that grew out of seeds, and on the other side you have weeds, and you can walk through this garden and see how it goes. Listen to that meditation. It'll be very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so we have self-compassion. The last one I want to mention. Obviously, the formal practice of mindfulness is very important, because during the formal practice, we have a chance to slowly rewire our brain. And that's where rubber hits the road, right? If you practice non-mindfulness on a daily basis, and you practice for 8 hours a day, sometimes meditating for only for 5 minutes, it only can achieve as much. But if on top of your daily practice, say the 20 minutes twice a day, you will bring a mindful moment as a non-formal practice to the table, that the chances of actually living mindful life more often increase dramatically. And that's why this is such an important point and such an important principle of mindfulness. The mindfulness is not only for the time we spend on the cushion, it's also, and perhaps most importantly, for the time that we spend outside of the cushion. Okay? So please keep that in mind next time that you meditate. When you meditate, it's fantastic, but you prepare yourself for the rest of the day and for the time that you spend outside of the cushion to be mindful in those moments. And those moments, obviously, the quality of those moments will be a reflection of your mindfulness practice. So the more you practice, the more you're being mindful, the more mindfulness you will reap. Right? The less mindful you are, the more unconscious you spend your day, the more unconsciously you spend your day, the chances are that that what you will reflect, throughout the day. More stress, more anxiety, were the products of the mind. Shane asked me to repeat all three. I'm going to report all of them actually. First principle, fundamental of mindfulness, is non-judgment. Second, present moment awareness, attention and concentration. Fourth, accepting and letting go. Non-striving, number 5. Self-compassion, and number 7, formal and informal practice. So as the 7 is not really a principle, but actually the 6 principles and the 7 caveat, where we actually sit on a cushion and how we act outside of the cushion, which is part of mindfulness. Okay. So I think enough theory. And now let's jump into a short practice. Let's meditate together, and just for 5 minutes, let's see how those principles, how effectively you can apply those principles into your mindfulness practice. And to make things simple for all of us, you may practice different, you may have different practice to this one, but I encourage you to collectively do just one practice, which is mindfulness of the breath. So as I said, not judgmentally focusing on the breathing practice or on your breath, whether it's a sensation between the tip of your nose and the top of your lip, or rising and falling of your chest or belly. You can choose. But let's focus on the breath for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to switch the mode into the meditation mode. You see, almost as if I intentionally try to switch off my mind, or not switch off my mind, but shift the attention and focus from the thinking process into the sensation, in this case, sensation that a result of my breathing. So sit in a position that you feel at ease and relaxed. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, your back straight but not rigid. Allow your eyes to close. Take a deep breath. And here we are, right here, right now. A common joke amongst mindfulness teachers or meditation teachers, when asked, "What time is it?" they answer, "Now." So here we are, here and now. And we choose to focus on our breath in the spirit of what we said. There are a million things happening outside of this present moment. And as a matter of fact, everyone, as we sit here, you may have different experience. But we choose collectively, and each of us individually, to focus on the sensations of the breath. In whichever way you decide. Typical focus points are the upper lip, space between upper lip and tip of your nose, rise and fall of your belly, your chest. This, by the way, it's not important. As soon as you choose one point, you stick with it. Because we're being taught by the Fundamentals of Mindfulness that the object is not important. It is not important that it is pleasant or unpleasant, suitable or unsuitable. It is what it is. All the judgments that you may experience are the result of your thinking mind. I tend to bring a bit of humor to my meditation practice, so rather than being super serious, this, according to Thich Nhat Hanh, I put that gentle smile on my face, putting a distance between the logical and thinking mind that wants things to be very serious, very cognitive, or cognition-based. So as I breathe in and breathe out, I do it slowly, gently. There's nothing to be achieved here. It's not a particular goal. And if it helps, each breath, it's a separate practice. Breathe in, breathe out. And here there's one practice and you start anew. Each practice is only a few seconds long. You're not searching for 10 breaths or 5 breaths or any amount of breaths. The count is 1. And then you will notice how the thoughts in your mind has a different point of view and different understanding of it. And it will throw at you thoughts like, you're not doing it right. This is not my practice. I can't do it. I'm not doing it the right way. And then you recognize it as a thinking process. And you say, okay. And you come back to your breath with a smile. And that's it. And to conclude, take another maybe deeper breath. Feel it in your stomach, in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And we'll come back. Short mindfulness practice. Very simple, but certainly not easy. But I can say from my perspective, I'm very grateful that you could be by my side and you could hold a space for me in this short practice. I certainly could feel a difference. I feel your support and I thank you for it. So here we are. Perhaps in one word, describe or put in the comment section how you feel right now. How did it work for you? How did it feel to be mindful for this short couple of minutes? Very quieting and sleepy. Stress release. I know, Anne, you said that you seek stress release and meditation, and if you feel sleepy, that means that stress decreased. That's wonderful. Seth, oh hello Seth. Uncluttered. Tawana, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Feels peaceful. Cheryl, energizing. Joan, calm. Rosa, calm. Yeah, I think if most of the meditation practices and mindfulness practices bring us to the default state, that is calmness. Right? The world is great. Everything is great. Right here, right now. It might be not good. Might have not been good in the past. It might be not great in the future, but right here, right now, it's good. So there's no reason to be stressed. We are calm. And that's one of the fruits of meditation. I always say, do not try to become, do not try to be less stressed. Try to be the present moment. And what you find, because these are definitions of the mind, but you find that if you just stick to the practice itself, those things will come as a fruits of it, not as a goals, but as a fruits. Joan, relaxing. Kathleen, slower. Amazing, I love that. Elaine, smiling on the inside. That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much, guys, for your presence and for your support in this session. We will come back with Conscious Living Collective next week, the same place, the same time. And we will try to be present and try to be open to what the future brings, or what the present moment brings, to be more precise. I very much look forward to seeing you then. And until then, have a beautiful day, a restful night, wherever you are. Until then, bye-bye.